Now, Gun Free South Africa says reducing firearm availability is a solution to violent crimes in the country. According to the latest crime statistics, about 45% of murders committed in the last financial year can be linked to gun violence. For more on this, we're joined by Adele Kirsten from Gun Free South Africa. Adele, thank you very much for joining us on eNCA. Now, in your report that you released yesterday, you also mentioned that what needs to be done is that gunshots need to be made notifiable by health centres. Can you explain what that means?
Yes, thanks, Mashego. Good morning, and thanks for giving us the opportunity. This is an idea that's, I guess, circulated globally for a number of years, but just really over the last couple of months, partly looking at how our government and civil society is responding to a global pandemic, an illness. And often violence is seen, certainly by health professionals, as a disease. And if you look at the latest stats, it's at epidemic proportions in South Africa. You know, almost half of all murders. So if we're looking at 58 murders a day, that's around about 26. But the idea of making gunshots a notifiable disease means that at the point of entry, when a person reports to a health clinic, a trauma hospital, that the health professionals need to notify the authorities immediately that a gunshot has reported, whether the person becomes a victim and dies or whether they survive. It's basically the way one would talk about it is a gunshot, a victim survivor presenting at a health facility. And then it means we can track in real time. We don't have to wait, 18 months to get a sense of what are the changing patterns of gun violence in our country. Because if, we're talking about the last financial year, which is up until the end of March this year. If we made it a notifiable disease, it would mean we would get real-time data. We would be able to intervene much more quickly. We would be able to identify hotspots. And so this is something we're exploring. We're in discussion with some trauma doctors, with some public health professionals about how we would go about this. And we have that capacity in the country. If you look at something like TB, that's a notifiable disease.
Well, Adele, there's also the firearm amnesty period, which actually starts today. First of all, just to explain to us what this means, firstly, for those who, for instance, have illegal firearms at home, what does this period mean? But also, did it help when we had this period observed last year? Was there any difference?
So amnesties generally are successful at removing weapons that people don't want, that are obsolete. And usually during that period, SAPS engages in fairly high-level kind of intelligence-led operations, search and seizure operations. Our most successful amnesty was in 2005, where there were almost 100,000 weapons removed. So that's a significant number. This last amnesty that was declared at the end of last year and ended now at the end of May, didn't bring in, it was just over 27,000 weapons. That's not good enough. And SAPS acknowledged that basically the lockdown, that from the end of March, and Minister Cele was very clear, no casual walk-ins. And so people who wanted to surrender their weapons were unable to do so. And I think that was a motivation to then have a further amnesty. And we would certainly encourage people who have a weapon, who no longer use it, who don't want to renew it. There are lots of people who have failed to renew licenses. This is an opportunity to hand in your gun. The issue of those who are in not just illegal possession, but who use the weapon for criminal purposes, that's much more tricky. Because you will not be exempt. The amnesty is not for exemption from prosecution if a gun has been used in a crime. And so in order to get those guns in, SAPs have to prioritize over this period increased intelligence-led operations and search and seizures.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. That is Adele Kirsten from Gun Free South Africa, of course, talking to us about the fact that 45% of the murders that happen in South Africa were through the barrel of a gun.